Everybody, Deadly Courage Labs, brewed and coffee. Or grand rising, everybody. Deadly Courage Labs, brewed and coffee. Got my coffee here. Cheers, salud. Mm. Yum, yum, yum. So, been a good week. I did this all week. Yay! Finally consistent again. Of course, we have people in and out, as always, which is okay. It's good. But super excited about what is to come and sort of seeing some transitions in people and at least within my world. Now, I don't know in the entire macrocosm, um, you know, or I should say within the ripple effects of the world, what's going on if people are still struggling. Do kind of see, good morning, Kathy, that there's this sort of split in the world. And it's almost weird. It's almost like there's two sort of storylines or worlds that are existing at this point and happening at the same time. And we're starting to sort of see this split. And a lot of it is, the world views. Our world views are shifting, right? Because consciousness is shifting, because we're starting to view the world um, from a holistic perspective. And that's because we have information at the tip of our fingers, right? We have everything is available to us. So now we've become multicultural, where we look at other cultures, right? And we have the ability to engage in those other cultures and to start to understand why it is that they do these practices and rituals that they do within their particular culture or whatnot. So pretty awesome time. And then also there's the other spectrum of it, right? Where it's almost like the old programming wants to continue. What's up, bestie? Oh, now you want to come on. See, I see you. I don't know if you've been coming on, but all of a sudden Facebook is showing that you're here. Interesting. How are you this morning, bestie? Hopefully well. Cheers to you. Salud. My bestie hasn't been on here in a while. I haven't seen him in a very long time. And then he's calling other people his besties. Oh Lord. Life is funny. But yeah, it's we're looking at from a multicultural lens, and there's different ways to engage. For me, and I think this is the most important thing to understand is that each archetype, each personality trait, each energy, whatever you want to call it, there's so many different ways that we can describe it, but within us, there's good morning, Nini. There's these different personality types that exist within us, right? And each one of those has a different practice, right? And I'm reading the Integral Life Practice, and which I love because it sounds like me. It's a person who does it like takes on multiple projects but has different interests and wants to engage in each of those interests. Really what it takes is what are the practices that come with that particular embodiment. So if you saw, for me, I have different sort of, I know my archetypes, right? And I understand when I'm embodying them and I'm saying, okay, this particular energy likes to do this thing. This particular energy likes to do this thing, right? Good morning, Kareem. So it's looking at your practices. So asking yourself, what is it that I enjoy doing with this particular energy that's I'm embodying at this point? So for me, and that's really, again, that's getting to know yourself. You have to know yourself. Now, here's the deal. Most individuals will go to other people and try practices and see if they work. And they don't sometimes. But it's not a forced thing, right? Our practices don't become forced. They're things that we inherently do no matter what. Good morning, Tony. And so when you ask yourself, well, what are my practices, right? So let's just take a look at Tony. Tony lives by the ocean. Maybe one of her practices is going to the ocean and swimming, right? Good morning, PBG. Maybe, and that maybe that's her um, God self, right? That divine higher essence that wants to connect to earth, that wants to connect to water, that wants to connect to the elements. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for asking. And then perhaps she has another energy like that's a warrior spirit, like me. I have a warrior spirit inside me. That warrior spirit loves to do kung fu, is very active, loves to work out, high energy, high strung. But then there's times that I want to relax, right? And I embody a different energy. Each one of those energies has a practice. Now, here's the cool thing that I absolutely love, that the integral life practice talks about, is that you can do these practices just 1 minute a day. You don't have to overdo it, which is really cool, but you have to know yourself. And sometimes it's trying different practices on to see what's going to work for you. Why? This helps us to release the energy that's within us, and in a way that's not harmful to everybody. So we redirect the energy into something, and then we create something. And that's the process of creativity. It's the release of the energy that's within us. So if you saw it from this space, right, and you're looking at it, now here's the deal. Sometimes we release in a way that's not necessarily driving us closer to our ultimate goal of being our authentic self. Maybe it's redirecting us, and so we're stuck in a time loop. And being stuck in a time loop is sort of like looking at the past and reliving the past over and over and over and over again. And this happens in dialogue, right? Again, language creates. So when you're having a dialogue with a person, ask yourself, is this dialogue keeping me in a time loop? Right? Because if it's keeping you in a time loop, then what it's doing is it's taking your time away rather than giving you time. And then you become like a dog chasing its tail, right? Over and over and over and over and over. You're looking and you're like, why I'm wasting time? I'm not getting closer to my goals. Well, maybe because the dialogue has kept you in a time loop. So that's why language is critical to look at. That's why I was talking about language before. What are your conversations? Being totally mindful. Are they moving you forward? Right? And what is the dialogue? And so really it's looking at the individuals that are within your space as well. Is that poetic? I I think it's you. I see the little faces and I'm like, oh, I could see the faces, but I can't see who's on here sometimes. It's really quite interesting. So for those on Facebook, please say good morning. Those on the Podbean, good morning to you guys again. So cheers, salud. Hope you're all well. I'm just going to take another drink here. Oh, it is poetic. Hi. um, and so looking at the dialogue and the time loops. Now, here's the deal. When the course, so I created a course. The course does have some how to get time back. People don't really understand how time kind of works. And it's really interesting. Good morning, Doreen, because time itself we can actually create more time, and people, there is a trick to this, right? So in the courses that I created, it teaches you that. It's teaching you how to get time back in different ways. And so why? Because the more time that we get back, the more we have time to create what it is that we want to create, the more that we can have authentic relationships and connections. Or we can start to shape our world the way that we want to see it. That's the cool part of this, is that we can start to mold, and I've talked about this before, and shape the way that we see our reality from the most authentic place that comes from within us. So, it's really cool because you're never going to create a utopia. There's no such thing, right? Because utopia, I told my friend, well, everybody wants utopia. And he goes, do you know what that word means? And I said, I don't know the etymology. What is it? And he's like, nowhere. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't even know that myself. Utopia means nowhere. So we're off to nowhere. No, that's not true. We're in this sort of like wonderland, right? Where we're creating and engaging with material, inanimate objects that we create, but also the objects that were inherently here, right? There's inherent and it's then there's inanimate objects that we've developed, right? But we have animate objects that are, decaying, but they're organic and they're constantly growing, and we can engage with these things. And so that is us getting a little closer to who we are authentically, taking that which is in the external and the internal and molding and shaping, right, our life. Good morning, Charlie Black Lover. PBG, good morning. And shaping and molding our world. So the course that's going to come out will get you a little closer to that. Is it all of it? No, because honestly, this work is a lifetime commitment and there's a lot that goes into it. What it will do is it'll allow you to have a structure, right? So that you can put your goals into a place that is all encompassing. It creates a container for you. It creates a container to keep it in, to get a little bit closer, to be honest with yourself, and then to get back time. And that's the big key. When you know how to work with time, right? We can't, because people say, well, time is just a construct, and it is. But we live within the construct of time at this point, until we're completely out of the time construct as a collective consciousness. Time is going to be something that we talk about. So how do you create more time so that you get outside of the time loop? That's kind of cool, right? It sounds almost magical. It's like, what? Wait, I keep my name on podcast, Natalie. I don't see Ani. Oh, PBG, your name isn't on the podcast, just so you know. It says PBG and then 95XY element of P. So how do we work with time? How do we create more time? And if you think about it with Alice in Wonderland, I like to always talk about that movie. It's pretty cool, right? Time is a big thing. And the second one, in fact, they talk about time. And I love that quote where it says, time gives before it takes away. So we have this gift of time. And we can call it a different word. We can say, well, it's not time, but it is. We're viewing something for like they say, between the day that you were born and the day that you die, there's a dash. That's the journey. That's the time frame that we have, is that dash between the time that our bodies are here. Now, I'm not talking about the soul, because I know people will say, we live forever. Yes, okay. I'm talking about our body, okay? Our body does expire, okay? And so from the time our body exists until the time our body expires, there's a dash. That dash is an indication of time. That dash is the journey that we take from one point to the other point. There's one point of existence and one point of expiration. And in between that is time. And how we use that time is up to us. So we have this beautiful gift of that dash to experience. And what we can do is take that and mold our life the way we want to see it. We're at that time right now. Good morning, Moonfeather. Ooh, I like that, Moonfeather. I don't know if you're still. Good morning, Jess. Name is Jess. Oh, awesome. Good morning, Jess. I hope you're still on here. Isn't it cool? Think about this, right? I want you guys just to think and contemplate this. And this is a really cool thing to think about in the weekend and on Friday, is that we can shape our own world to look the way that we choose. Now, I'm not saying that there's external factors that influence and impact it, but we have workarounds. That's what a spiritual alchemist does. People will be like, Natalie, you live in your own world. I'm like, that's okay. I love my world. You can join me in my world if you want to. It's a magical and beautiful and amazing. I love my world, and I have shaped it the way that I want it. My world is shaped in the form that I want. Now, there's things that agitate it at times, of course, but I'm a nomad and I know how to say, okay, I shaped this world for my existence, and I incubated it and I grew it, and now it's being agitated or attacked, and now I don't want to fight back because I'm not a fighter, so I just simply move and recreate and remold. That's another way of describing what I do, right? As an alchemist, that's what you do. You transmute and transform into a new space, but your environment becomes this. What I've done and what I've learned to do is to create more time. I know how to work with time. And as I work with time, right, I get more time back. It's quite interesting. It's a really cool, it's almost being on the other side, right? On the other side of time. So people experience time very different than I do, right? And I know what I want to fill my time with. So what I say is, this is what my time, this is what my day looks like. And here's what I want to put in my time. So I put Kung Fu in my time. That's important because that's what I want to do. I want to spend time doing that. Okay. I put a master's program into my time, right? And I can take these things out if I choose. I put travel into my time. I put my work into my time. I put spending time with friends into my time. All of these things. And what it ends up doing is you end up looking at your life, at the experience of it. Remember, it's all about the experience within a time frame. We're just viewing time like this. It's just frame by frame. But here is the deal. So the course that I'm coming out with goes over time in a small little fashion. It's not the deep esoteric piece of how to maneuver and work with time. But I will say this, it gives you a good starting point of how to utilize time. Now, we're not manipulating time. There's no manipulation in the work that I do. I try to keep that out, and if it's in there, I pull it out, extract it, and try to figure out how to maneuver it, because a light worker is not going to try to manipulate something. We work with it. Okay, you work with something rather than to manipulate it. My Facebook page name, if you go to my website, spiritandcoffee.com, all of the links are at the bottom, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me on Podbean, everywhere. Spiritandcoffee.com is the website. Yeah. So time. So I think I'm really excited about when this comes out. You're welcome, Moon Feather. I really like that, Moon Feather. Reflection, light reflection. Just kidding. Feather reflection. So we build a container, right? And it's really cool because you can create your own sort of universe, right? Your own little world. And I feel like people who've been on Spirit and Coffee, we're at the time right now where, people who are wanting to get deeper into the work, I'm going to offer some of that. Again, it's kind of, there's this concern about going deeper into this work because for me, it's kind of like, will someone go to the dark side and what did I do? And that's a lot of the reason why I stay very surface level with my conversations here, because Natalie, I will call you later on Instagram. Bye. Okay, Jess, thanks. Because really, what happens is sometimes people take the information and use it to manipulate, and that's not what this is for. It's not to manipulate, it's to work with, to understand how to work with, so that we can create this beautiful legacy and wisdom, or legacy of whatever it is that you're leaving, that you can leave a legacy behind, right? For future generations, right? Hopefully one day, future generations, if this technology continues, will come and find my stuff and be like, what? And then they get it, right? And it helps them in some way. They hear something that I say and they go, oh, wow. And then it ignites something, a ripple effect that does good for humanity. You don't know you're going to impact individuals. So it gets a little scary to say, well, I want to put this wisdom into someone's hand, because what if they misuse it and now that I'm responsible for that? It's a huge responsibility, right? But in the course that I'm teaching, it's very it's just kind of an intro. And besides, you need an intro to understand how to do this stuff. You need an intro to understand how to work with time. You can't just go out and try to like manipulate it, because it's going to backfire on you and maybe people you love, right? So there's a system, there's a process to it, and there's a mindfulness that comes behind it. But it's really cool because when you start to recognize it and you start to maneuver, you can also be on the other side of it. In other words, I experience, again, time very different than most people. Most people are kind of stuck in a loop of 9 to 5. They're stuck in the 9 to 5. They're stuck in that loop of 9 to 5. And that, that's a modernism, postmodernism construct. But when COVID happened, we'll just say this, I was experiencing time very different about a year or two before. And COVID hit and people started to experience time a little different, right? Time changed a little bit for people. And now people have got a little taste of what that's like. And now things are starting to go back to the normal, but people are saying, do we really want to go back to normal? Some people don't. So there's a difference, okay? So I'm trying to work as hard as I can on these courses. There's a lot of learning curves for me in terms of this because I have to record and all these other things. And then, I have the materials that need to be uploaded and stuff, but I'm working with a team of individuals who are helping me do this, which is amazing. And they're amazing. If you ever want their information, if you guys have courses you want to do and stuff, let me know, because I can connect you with these beautiful women who are like badass, leveraging technology like crazy. And working with them. And so I should have it out soon. And it's setting goals and achieving them. That is the name of it. It was a process. It's sort of the process I use. And it really does help you to create a container and sort of this outline, and then build it up. Okay. So that's coming soon. So there you go. And so have a great day. So what I'm going to say is just think about that this weekend. Go out and contemplate that. How do I become the creator of my own universe, right? My own beautiful universe, my own beautiful world, that's, painted with flowers and whatever it is, right? And how do I start to shape that? What would that look like? Okay. I've seen both pros and cons to this pandemic. Oh yeah, absolutely. And there are always pros and cons to everything, right? Even technology, even everything. And that's because of the idea that we live in this duality, right? This place where we're seemingly looking at duality or separation. But now we are in a place where we're in integration. And I think people are starting to understand that we're whole, perfect, and complete, and that the yin and the yang need to exist, right? The light and the dark, right? The moon and the sun, right? Since your moon feather, right? You're talking about like the night, right? And the reflections. The sun symbolizes reflection, right? And going deep internal into the unconscious mind, which are the dark spaces of our mind, and going into the void or the dark, which is the mother too. It's, if you think of the womb, it's like dark, right? So all of that. Yes. Okay. So I love you guys. Contemplate that today. Think about that. I'm going to be thinking about it. Like, how am I creating my world? Is it, really, how do I get a little closer to my authentic self and creation in the world I want to see? So there you have it. Love you guys. Gonna continue, maybe talk about time. I think it's a big, big, big one. And then you guys, when you engage in the courses, then you guys can see, wow, okay, now I get how to apply it to my life, because me talking about it's one thing, but you practicing it's another. That's a whole other ballgame. Sounds good, but can you do it? and that means practice. So learning how to practice. Okay. So there you go. Love you guys. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. And I will be talking to you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, have a fantastic, fabulous, phenomenal, funky, freaky, fascinating Friday. Okay, bye.